this is Dave at Dagryffyn Hobby. This past week on Instagram, someone asked me how many 6464 boxcars the 2321 Trainmaster could pull. I think what's going to limit me in this experiment is the condition of the cars and the turns on the layout. If I had a layout with 072 curves or something like that, I think I could pull a lot more. I think what's going to happen is as I add cars, the engine's going to pull them fine, but it will derail at some point. The train's going to tip around a turn. So we're going to try a couple different things and see what happens. I know that I can pull 8 2500 series post-war passenger cars. So I don't think I have a layout big enough to test the limits of this engine, but we're going to see what happens anyway. So it pulled 11 cars and only at 8 volts on my ZW. So that's a good indication that this thing will pull a fantastic amount of cars. So I'm out of 6464 boxcars. You might have seen I snuck in the autoloader in there. I pulled that with these, still at 8 volts on the ZW. So I'm gonna add 2 more of those hoppers and we'll go again. Yeah, this isn't slowing this thing down at all. I'm still only at 8 volts on the ZW. I had to boost it up a little just to get it moving, about 9 volts, but that's nothing. So I kind of exhausted my collection of larger freight cars that actually roll well. I have a bunch of the New York Central gondolas, but I was having issues with the trucks on those, so I'm not going to add those. I have a bunch of tanker cars. Those also need to all be cleaned and oiled. So neither of those would really give us a good idea. We do have a bunch of the smaller box cars. I could add those. But first I decided to add something else since I know they roll well. So let's see how this goes. And that still pulled those cars all the way around the track at 8 volts. It did noticeably slow down around the other side of the layout where I have some compound turns. I have an S turn going into a loop, and that slowed it down a little bit. I also had to bump it up almost to 10 volts to get it moving, but still, this thing is a monster. It's definitely the best puller I have. So I think I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the passenger cars and see what happens. Okay, well there's a little difference there. I had to bump it up to 12 volts to get it moving and run it at 10 volts around the loop. So it's starting to drag a little. At this point, I'm surprised that the coupler on the back of the Trainmaster has not let go. That's a lot of weight. The Postwar Trainmaster. The best engine? Definitely the best puller that I have. It's strong enough for whatever you're gonna do. And if it's not, get 2 of them. Pull a lot of cars. This is like how many licks does it take to get the center of a Tootsie Pop? You know, it could be a lot, and you wouldn't know until I just kept adding the cars. And at that point, I think it would max out the layout before I maxed out this engine. I'm gonna run it a little bit, a couple of times around the loop, maybe take the passenger cars off, try to squeeze on a couple more freight cars and see what happens. And this is what we have, what I figured would happen. I took the passenger cars off and added 7 of the smaller box cars to the train, and these front box cars just couldn't take it. The passenger cars could take the pull, but box cars could not. Luckily, they didn't fall off the table. Kind of surprised I'm standing here talking about it instead of rescuing the box cars before they drop, but I guess that bump out I made in the corner there did the job. So let me recover those before they fall, and like I said, I think we reached the max of the cars before we reached the max of the engine. Okay, so the box cars in the background are what tipped our train. They're being pulled by my 681 turbine. So we got the Trainmaster back to just pulling the box cars and the gondolas. Okay, so since we were doing up the Trainmaster, I wanted to see what the 681 Turbine would do, and I think I reached its limit. Got a little wheel slippage. I could probably push it further, clean the wheels up, make sure they're nice and clean and everything, but you know, it's a good ballpark here. We've got 13 including the caboose. Some of these cars are heavier, some are lighter. There are a few operating box cars in here that aids weight. You'll see maybe in the background to the left of the screen there's a 3454 merchandising car. I did not bother with that one because it is very heavy with the mechanism inside. And I pulled all those cars at right about 10 volts. This is new track, so I'm sure that helps. The turns on this inner loop are 042, and where this train is sitting right now is got a more of a compound S curve, so it's got a lot of resistance that it's trying to get over. Magnet traction. A little bit of slippage there, but it gripped and started going. Don't let anybody tell you the Postwar engines aren't good enough. I don't know if people say that, but if they do, don't stand for that. So how many cars can the Postwar Trainmaster pull? The world may never know. At least I'm not going to know, and not tonight, because my layout is not big enough and I don't have enough cars. But considering that it pulled 6 2500 series passenger cars along with all these box cars, I'd say you could get a few in there. 30 cars maybe? 30 64/64s? I don't know. If somebody's got a bigger layout with larger radius turns and they want to give it a try and let me know, that would be fantastic. Because I'm not going to have a bigger layout anytime soon. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little experiment. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and see you next time on Dagryffyn Hobby.